All right, so we are going to start straight away with the next panel. It's on digital transformation, how to deal with today's customer with yesterday's technology. Join us, we have Krishna, Senior Client Services Director, MarTech Experience Verticurl. Fun fact about Krishna, he fell in love and married his best friend's sister. Love that. Kara, Head of Marketing, Wilhelmsen, Wilhelmsen Ship Service. She has a basic wine certification. And here we also have Zach, the MarTech delivery lead from DBS Bank. Zach codes website using HTML on Notepad to learn additional pocket money during his secondary school days. Wow. And last but not least, Jonathan, Head of Transformation Program Office, Singapore Pools. Jonathan used to love building flying planes and drones until his children came 6 years ago. Now they're just decorations on the wall. The stage is yours. Over to you, Krishna.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Thank you, and very excited to meet you all. And thank you all for coming for this discussion. We'd like to kickstart on this straight away, but just before that, we'll do just a quick introduction. So myself, Krishna, so I'm in this digital marketing agency for more than 12 years, and I'm part of Verticurl. So at Verticurl, what we do is more of MarTech experience, consultancy, MarTech platform implementations, and rollouts, yeah? But let's hear about the speakers also. Maybe, Kara, do you want to start first?
Hello. Okay. Hi, everyone. Nice to see all of you in person. Yes, I am actually working for a maritime company. So I'm in the maritime sector that, little fun fact, that transport more than 90% of the global goods around the world by sea. So I'm heading up the marketing function globally. Again, similar to what Krishna has said, I have responsibility towards integrated marketing and comms, so that cuts across digital marketing, events marketing, and I think general marketing ops for my company. So yes, good to see you guys today.
Hi, I'm Zach. So I started out as a developer many years ago, and I've gone through my own personal software development lifecycle, from being a developer to tech lead to sales to consulting at Accenture, and then finally ended up being a delivery lead in DBS Bank. And my business stakeholders are marketers. So as long as you guys are happy, I'm happy with the systems that I deliver.
Hi, my name is Jonathan. I head up the transformation program office in Singapore Pools. So it's a very unique industry. I've got 3 functions within my department. One of them is the project delivery. That's basically the heavy lifting folks, doing all the capability development. I've got a couple of staff, looking at, their gatekeepers to the investments from the company, what do we spend on, and etc. And I've got another team working on transformation and innovation. So interesting fact about Singapore Pools is we don't have a marketing department. So what am I doing here, right? Okay.
That's a very interesting fact. Thank you. So today's topic about how to deal with today's customers with yesterday's technology. And to be honest, this is not a new topic. And this is an issue that we have yesterday, today, and probably tomorrow as well. So we will face the same issue all along because the customer needs change. The technologies keep on growing. So how do we deal with that? So maybe that's where we will hear from our panelists here on how they deal with that kind of an issue in their current roles. But before that, we kickstart with a simple poll. And just to understand what you guys face as a challenge in your organization when dealing with legacy systems. And hope you're not dealing with any antique platforms, but yeah. So let's hear. So some of the options are, okay, balancing investment. Okay, that's an interesting answer. Yeah, and that's a very common problem of integrating new technology with legacy systems. All right, thank you. So maybe we kickstart with the first question. Okay, from the same topic itself. What is the definition of yesterday's technology in your point of view? And Zach, you are coming from a technology background as well. Maybe we can kickstart with you first. Yeah.
Yeah, when I first saw the topic, I asked my fellow panelists, right, tomorrow's technology is actually yesterday's by the day after. So what do you mean by yesterday's technology? And Richard, from one of the previous presenters, actually shared that there are like 10,000 over marketing technologies. So whatever you pick today will become yesterday's technology because there's ever changing. But one thing that I always tell my marketers or my business stakeholders is that look at what we have today. Will they be able to deliver your business use cases instead of looking out forward? We do refreshers, we do check it out, but always look at what we have today to ensure that we make the best use of today's technology, right? Rather than always looking forward, always wanting the newest and flashiest toys.
That's a good point. Thanks for that. Kara?
I'll just the second part, what is today's customer? I think today's customer, again, speaking from experience, post-pandemic or driven by pandemic, today's customer are, I would say, more digital savvy. They are more greedy and more, I think, well-informed of what are the good to have and must have. So, and then the third thing is they are a little bit more guided by a lot of different technology platforms to help them do their researches and, info gathering. So I would say the yesterday technology and today's customer, I think it's always about to me, what the customer being in the center, what are they looking for? What do they need? And then whether is it yesterday's technology or tomorrow's technology or today's technology is really, tailoring whatever technology according to who your customer are, what they want, and then how they interact with your business, your information. There's a sort of touch point they are familiar with. I think that is key.
Yeah. And Jonathan?
I think for us, we sort of brand ourselves as a close follower of technology. Why? Because I think there's new technologies coming on board almost every day, in the form of applications, in the form of, I think every event you go to, there's something new that pop up, in a variant, in a different way. So for us, we consider ourselves a close follower. And what do that mean is we actually look at technologies that are mature, because that's enough for it itself. And the challenge is to link this with what the customer wants. To add on to Clara's point, today's customer, we characterize them post-COVID. Number two, they are bombarded with so many information that, by the time they actually come to your brand or your company, they know more, they could actually know more about you than yourself. Third, any customer, that's the sort of rule of thumb. Most customers will just take the shortest path, to the destination that they want to go. So the brand that wins is the one that provides them that ease of navigation, the ease of achieving their objective.
Yeah. So how do we deal with that? Like you said, today's customers are more digital savvy. They are into the phones and they can get the information as soon as they want. So how do we deal with that, and how do we deal with the competition? And Kara, you're from a unique industry. Maybe you can share your point of view there.
Okay, thanks for saying unique. I'm from a very somewhat traditional industry. Anyone from the maritime industry, logistic, raise your hand. Good. I'm sure you can appreciate what I just say. No offense to anyone, but yeah, I think maritime is traditionally quite traditional. So, for example, my fellow panelists, maybe your yesterday technology may be my technology of today. Like your 2.0 is, my 1.0 or something. So I would say it's always about, back to the point I just mentioned, about what customer want. So I would say pandemic has been a game changer for the maritime industry, both speaking from my function marketing and both as an industry. I think the pandemic has sort of changed the way how we operate, because a lot of times marketing is very traditional, I would say offline. In-person event, a lot of business is done at discussion table, sales meeting the customers. But I think that has slightly changed a little bit. In that sense, again, people are getting more savvy, so is our customer, you know. There are new, younger people coming in, so they are very hungry for technology, wanting to know more, to learn more. So in that sense, the way we do marketing has changed to evolve beyond just in-person event and, you know, face-to-face sales or networking event as such. That is still important, but I think another layer is we stack up the technology, meaning to say that we bring in digital marketing in the form of search engine marketing, social media marketing, programmatic, and then really understanding, using technology to understand the customer one, and then tracking and monitoring the data to then create the sort of content and information that sort of really drive growth and all that. Yeah, so I think that has changed how the industry, or certainly my function in a somewhat traditional industry, has sort of evolved.
Yeah. Okay. Zach, what do you think?
I think for me, I always like to ask back to the marketers, what exactly do you want to achieve? And I will look back at my whole marketing stack, right? It can be a combination of both yesterday's technology and a little bit of what future technology has to offer. And piece the different part of the technologies and processes together. Even though technology can integrate, we must also remember the people portion. People can come together and work together and leverage that people process, right, to actually bring the best out of what we have today.
And coming back to that, like, how do we deal with the competition with those? And Jonathan, maybe to you, you said you don't have a marketing department. So what's the drive for you guys?
Okay, we are the only operator in Singapore, so that doesn't make us a monopoly. But I mean, truth to be told, actually, how many of you doesn't know that Singapore Post is a non-profit organization? Most of you know, or non-profit. We are a non-profit organization, you know, and most people I spoke to, including my friends in the industry, say, you guys just collect all the money, give yourself big fat bonuses. But in fact, we don't. So if you look at it itself, hopefully today there's another 150 people know more about what we do. So for every dollar that we collect, 70 cents goes back to prize money, tax-free. So if you win $1 million in the lottery, you collect $1 million, because we are paying tax on your behalf. So 70 cents go back. 27 cents goes to taxes, duties, as well as charities. So that's a lot, If you look at it itself, the very first building that we sort of funded to build was the old National Stadium. Today you look at the Esplanade, Gardens by the Bay, indoor stadium. I think these are monies that were actually contributed towards nation building, that helped to build all these, national monuments or places that we have. The remaining 3% is for operating costs. So in a way, what we do, we basically channel revenue, from the games and lottery, and then sort of like redirect it to prize money as well as nation building itself. So technically, we are non-profit. So hope that helps to clear the air. And we are highly regulated. So the reason why we don't have a marketing department is because anything that would seemingly be sort of marketing in nature, would be seen as encouraging gambling. Our mandate is to combat illegals, which I'll come to it later, and then the second one is to advocate responsible gaming. So that's why we don't have a marketing department in that manner. But we sort of, we still have to combat the market size. Actually we're sort of like half, getting half the revenue from the whole gambling market in Singapore itself. So imagine if we had not been set up in 1968 to combat the illegals, today where would the revenue be flowing to? Illegals website, underground or even overseas. So that has been our duty. And the reason why we don't have marketing department is because we are also supposed to advocate responsible gaming. So we'll get into some of the things that we do later, but that's pretty much our role.
Wow, I didn't know that so many challenges in there. Okay, so talking about challenges, like what are the challenges do you think you face based on the yesterday's technology? And that leads to my second question. When do you know yesterday's technology should be replaced or like upgraded or something like that? Maybe I see Zach wants to go first.
Sure. So when I was going to say I'm a heavily regulated industry, I learned that John was from Singapore Pools, and I was like, wow, yeah, even more heavily regulated because you can't basically say anything. So for me, the top concern when it comes to replacing or upgrade is when the security of the technology is being compromised. So when you know that the software vendor or the platform can no longer keep up with the vulnerabilities out there, it's really time to look at alternatives because we do not compromise on the securities of our customers. The second criteria is impact to performance. Performance could be your marketing spend is not making the best use of it, or actually delaying the ability to react to the market. And these are some of the things that I gather feedback from the marketers themselves. And finally, the employee experience, right? You can't have happy customers if your employees are not even happy using the tools themselves. So how can we even relay the positive customer experience when internally our marketers are crying every time they want to push our campaign, and by the time they deploy the campaign, my customers have already moved on to another product. So these are some of my key indicators: security, process impact, as well as employee and customer experience.
That is a very good point because we should not just look at the customer experience, right? The internal teams, if they are not happy and if they are doing a lot of manual works, then definitely it doesn't give them the drive to satisfy the customers. So, Kara, do you want to go on this question?
Yeah, I just want to echo Zach's comment because I think on my end, it's kind of relating to efficiency and ease of, handling your daily job. If it's going to be too manual, you're spending more time doing that, then I would say it's time to either upgrade or replace the status quo so that you can free up time to do a lot more. So I think maybe we will touch on that a little bit on AI. So I think I speak from my experience. Again, back to the pandemic, we started posting social media posts very manually, like you just go in, create posts. But I think increasingly, again, we are a victim of our success. People want more of content marketing, social media marketing. So it's no longer viable and efficient to go in and post. So we started investing in, for example, we just onboarded Sprout, which is similar to like Hootsuite. So very new to my world, but maybe not new to a lot of you in the audience. Yeah, so we do that so that we can schedule posts, we can do more, and then I think myself and my team will free up the time to look into more content than scheduling and trying to kind of figure out which hashtag and stuff like that. So we do that in advance. So it's using technology to improve kind of like what you say, the customer experience, getting the information out there faster, quicker, and easing up the time of the team to do more value-adding things that otherwise would not have been possible with the current technology.
Jonathan?
We are driven by a few factors. First of all, is risk and obsolescence. We are mindful on what we spend. So, most of the time, it is driven by end of life or end of service. And of course, I think we do have strategic plans in place so that when every change comes, it fulfills a few purposes of, other than replacing, what are the new capabilities that we need to put in place. For example, things like communication. Recently we've put together a big project that looks at replacing the physical communication to all our customers, both physical and online. The fact that we have more than 300 branches, is quite a sizable exercise here. And then we also took the opportunity, how do we incorporate, capabilities like feedback and stuff itself. And we also realized, customer has changed. So being still very retail, very large footprint, how do we bring our customer onto online space, and that journey started in 2016, but it is sort of evolved, over time. 2016 we launched the app, Singapore Pools app, but I think in the next couple of years, there will be more, capabilities being built. One of our idea was actually, since we can't bring the retail customer to the online space, how can we bring digital to the retail? So that's something that we sort of come in a very unique, value proposition within the regulations permitted.
Yeah, that's great to know. So everything is driven either based on the challenges or based on your business strategy or marketing strategy to do that. So how often do you measure that, like when you change those technologies, for example? And how do you measure that? Maybe I can start with Kara, because you just changed the platform now.
I would say very basic. As I said, a lot of the new technology is new in my world. I would say probably very basic. We started putting probably KPIs and matrix. We obviously also invest in the likes of Google Analytics. We also look into, I think when it comes to web, when it comes to social media, we set in different various measurements to make sure that, again, we understand the insights. We know what are the data collected, and then we put that into action. So we are trying to kind of make sense of all this data to make very guided decision that, for me, largely, really, how do I use harnessing technology, and then through technology, we gather the data, and then how can we use data to kind of translate into specific, say, output like content or a thought leadership piece. Because I think in my world, like I said earlier, a lot of things are done very traditionally. So sales also struggle to understand the value of marketing. So I think right now, in addition to obviously saying that, we have 100 people attending a customer party, we're now able to kind of provide information such as the invitation goes out to 200, 100 turn up, and then 50 click on this, and then, then we do a follow-up marketing shot, then how many download, and how many engage. So I think we're able to use kind of marketing technology to kind of give sales that insight, which goes beyond, I can only tell you how many show up. Other than that, I don't know who they are, I don't know what they interact with, I don't know what else they are interested in. So I think that is a sort of a game changer for us in terms of all this new technology. Again, it's a very crowded world out there. I think it's also you need to kind of check and balance the FOMO approach, fear of missing out. So you don't unnecessarily invest in all the good to have, but in actual sense, this is not befitting to what you actually need. Yeah.
Definitely, the efficiency is a great part. As long as you realize that, that's a good thing. How about you, Zach? Because you might have other challenges in terms of security. So how do you measure that?
So we do periodic review of our marketing stack, and we go with buy, hold, and sell. So essentially how you know what to buy is by coming to such summit events to know what other people are doing, as well as what other vendors, the latest technology out there. To hold is to understand what are the challenges that current business users are facing. If they're not facing any challenges, it's more of awareness, internal advocation, and training. That's probably what we will continue to hold it. And what to sell is basically security or incompatibility or impact to process. So that's how we do a periodic review and look at across our stack, what do we want to get and what do we want to hold and sell.
Okay. Jonathan?
In terms of measurement, I think it's multi-pronged. From an investment of technology, I think we have soft frameworks in place, to make sure business justification, scope, relevance of technology. I think it's also coupled closely with, what our people do. We have customer teams, that does extensive research into our customer base. How do we identify the different segments, and then how do we have targeted programs for this segment so that in a way we create that experience that is relevant to them. I think one of the successes that we saw was in the recent World Cup last year. I think there was certain activities that were targeted at some of our customers, and it turned out I think was pretty well received.
Thanks for sharing that.
Krishna, what about yourself?
Yeah. So from the technology challenges perspective, I've seen clients have a business strategy. They want to achieve that, so they look at in that front and look at their current stack whether they can solve that the target that they have or overcome the pain points that they have. But there is also the challenges like what we saw in the polls, like integrating to the legacy systems. So they might already have a lot of older systems or older platforms in their stack. If they change one platform, does it talk to each other? Does it give the results that they need? So there is a multiple factors that need to be considered, and not just changing one platform. How does it integrate with other platforms and give you the output that can come out with the business benefit that you are looking for? And that's something that definitely you need to think in a long-term perspective as well. And how do we achieve there? And that leads to my next question on the internal change management, right? So just on the people, I think we heard about in the previous panel of how they do the transformation for the internal marketing teams. This is in a way like related to it. How do you do that from the technology perspective? How do you balance and transition from a legacy system to a new system? What are the key things that you feel that needs to be done, and based on your experience as well? Who wants to go first?
So an interesting story that I did recently was sending out a survey to understand the adoption to a certain technology and how often are they using this platform. And the reaction that the results was very, very interesting. Two key highlights that was for me, it was like people were saying that they don't know how to use the technology. The training was not available, and hence I'm not using. So it's not the technology problem, but it's more of the people training problem. Another key result that I saw was that they got another department to do it for them. I got someone else to do it for me. I don't use the platform because I just have to write an email to someone else, and someone else will do it for me. So
It's a good tactic,
quite smart in a sense, but you're not using the best use of what we already have. So it's all about sending out internal surveys to understand what are the challenges people are facing, what is good about the platform, what is not so good about the platform, what are the trainings or processes that we can improve without having to invest a new technology again, and discover the gaps, right, through talking to people who are actually using the platform and not what other companies are using.
Okay, thanks for that, Jonathan.
Recently, we have sort of implemented a new system. So interestingly, we just sort of gone through this legacy and new system. So, like most of you pointed out, people are resistant, it's new, I'm comfortable with what I want, and it's very prevalent, somehow I think for Pulse itself, we have a lot of people who've been with the company for a long time, so people tend to be very comfortable with what they've been doing all the while. If it's not broken, don't change it. So I think in terms of change management, it's important to identify who are your advocates, internal advocates. So what we did was we found a group of folks, who are not resistant, who are pro, and okay, you guys be the pilot. You guys trash out all the issues, and lo and behold, there's really a lot of issues. So I think that what we go on next is communicate this to the rest of our organization. We see these guys are doing, their issues, but we resolve them, and then in fact, interestingly, we have all forms of communication, physical, training, videos, etc., to sort of continue that communication so that eventually even those that are not, convinced, hey, my colleague has migrated. So at the end of the day, of course, we say we're going to switch the old system off in 3 months. But by then, I think it has come to such a norm that, people just naturally embrace it. I think that's where we sort of were successful in getting the first group of people to really demonstrate, the embracing of the new technology.
And I think it's important to gather data points because numbers don't lie. People get emotional when they see a flashy new toy, They'll bring up the deck that the vendor showed and say, see, this is what they can do. But when I actually take the data and measure it, we can't get the ROI that we're going to invest in. So we then look into what do you actually want from this new flashy toy, right? We already have it internally, and then we just guide the business users to actually use the existing system instead of having to go through 3 or 4 year cycle of implementing a new technology, only to realize that it's what we can do existingly.
Yeah, doing more of an incremental change. You measure now, and how do we go up by giving this new technology to the team? And the good part is also the communications internally, how you communicate, getting your buy-ins from different stakeholders, and also enabling the teams. So that's a very good tactics for the change management. Want to hear more from you also, Kara? Yeah.
I think training, retraining is very important. So I would say the transition between old and new is a journey. It's not like, okay, let's, toss in the plug and then yes, everybody switch on and then just go with it, including customer. So I think it's a journey. You need to bring everyone on board. So including the customers, the users, then you avoid the gap, like what you say, and the disjointment. It could be customers, yes, upsell me, I like this thing. Then in the end, the sales guy or the customer service don't know how to explain, don't know how to use the technology to get that job done. So I think it's a little bit of a journey that you need to bring everybody on board. And then you have training, retraining, reinforcing the learnings, the utilization, all that. I think that is important. Yeah. So in every step or whichever that you onboard any new technology or method, I think that is quite essential.
Yeah. Thanks for that. And you guys managed all the key points for a change management, right? I just have 2 other points. One is also like incentivizing and rewarding. Like, because for a marketer or the teams that you are bringing in a new technology, it's going to be hard because it's not like they are doing it as a full-time. They have to do their own things and also learn new things and also like implement and use a new platform. So how do we incentivize and reward them for getting that adoption for those new technology? That's something that's, I think it's a key factor to put in your strategy. And the last part is also balancing the transition part of keeping some legacy systems and also having a new system. So how do we manage that? Because at one point, like if you have a big marketing budget, you can replace everything, but does it going to solve all the issues? Or how do you balance it, like bringing in new technology at the right time and keeping the old platform, whichever is working fine, like how do you manage that? So I think that's another few points that I would add in for the change management. Anything to add from you guys before we move on to the next question?
I think the key thing about managing internal change management is communication, right? You want to show the right message to the right audience. If I'm talking to the marketers, I want to show them how fast it's going to shorten their process, how efficient it's going to be. If I'm going to show to the senior management, I'm going to say how much money it's going to save you, because that's what they look at, that's what they focus at, right? So it's very important to communicate the benefit, the correct benefit to the right people. And also communication, again, keep them updated on where we are at. We heard you, these are your challenges with the legacy system, this is how you can do it, and continue to have this close feedback loop, and don't just throw the system to them and just say, move on.
That is a very good point. Money talks. All right, let's move on to the next question. Okay, this question, I know it's a very new and people are always talking about. How best are we using AI for your organization's perspective? Maybe Zach again?
So we are always on the lookout for new technologies. Our CEO is always a big advocate about technologies, and we have looked into generative AI. But at this stage, what we do is we use it to answer questions that we want to simplify some of the things and convey internally, right? Like for me, I'm using it to learn new technologies from different parts of the organization and how to simplify and explain it so that I understand. So I don't know if it's a hack. I always like to type, explain to me like I'm 5. So they will really simplify the terms so that it can easily understand for me, and then I can relay it from a technology point when I talk to my business users. This is how this technology works, this is how the system works. That's how I'm using AI.
Okay, that's good to know. Kara?
I would say as a marketer, I used to shun ChatGPT, but I realized it's quite effective. So I know early part of the event, I think there was a poll that was kicked off on, I think everybody asking about, I can't remember. So I remember the highest score was exploring the use of AI. So we are at that stage of exploring. So as an organization, maybe my function, obviously, we're looking into the more marketing-related AI, but I can weigh an example. We have this other arm called digital venture. So we're really looking at how we can tap into technology as an enabler to make process easier, faster for our customers. So I think one of the key things is using machine learning to identify common problem. So we encourage customers to take any photos of, let's say, certain problem area. Then through machine learning of this different, same problem area but different occurrence scenario, we try and sort of do up a library where the sort of data and machine understand the problem. So once the customers point the camera at this problem, then you'll be able to identify whether this is a high alert, medium risk, or low risk. Yeah, so we're looking at such thing. For example, it is a very well adopted method, nothing new, but it is very, very much requested by customers, because in the maritime environment, when the ship is out at sea, you can't just say, hey, please come and repair my engine. You will probably have to rely on the crew on board, their knowledge to repair it, or you can only do it at the next port that you dock, or you have to kind of ask somebody to intervene and get a vessel in. So I think technology like that will help our customers to identify the problem early and then resolve it, and then that's where I think we value add by almost weighing in technology as part of our product offering to make sure that customers solve their pain points easily. So I think, from an organization perspective, not so much on marketing. I know today is on marketing, but I think this is an area we're looking into.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Utilizing technology.
Yeah, and definitely AI now works best for marketing, and there's a lot of proven use cases there. Be it your segmentation, be it your campaign ideas, or even creative now. So ChatGPT can give you whatever you want now. So how best to utilize is something that I think people are exploring now, like the poll that you mentioned, Kara. Jonathan, how about you guys?
We use AI probably in the area of analytics. How do we identify trends? Because of the massive amount of data that we have. So, in fact, last year, what was really new was we set up an innovation lab. So, so people like Singapore Pools Innovation Lab. So, I'm trying to achieve. So the purpose of setting up the lab is to actually test and experiment technologies such as AI. So, we find use cases, together with the business, for example, AI from customer service. We're in the process of, relooking into our sort of contact center and how this helps to augment the multi-channel type of engagement, setting up knowledge management system, chatbots, etc. At the same time, if I'm looking into things like self-service, how do I enforce that the folks that goes to our branch are above 18 years old? So we sort of experimented with some, facial recognition technology with various partners to look at how that process can be automated. Because today it is, very human dependent. And when these human-dependent experts finally retire, then we will have a problem. So in a way, I think we really look at how this technology is going to may not be new, but how this is going to help in terms of bringing the business forward.
Thanks for that. And that's a good point on test and experiment. I think that's definitely needed in this world. And I think we are towards the end of the session, and I think we have 5 minutes for Q&A. But before that, is there any key takeaways from you guys? Maybe we can just summarize quickly.
I think for us, being highly regulated, we, apart from making sure that we are always engaging our regulators, I think what's important is for us to be customer obsessed, because that will help us to really design the right product as well as the right journey for them. I think that's very paramount, because our survivability depends on how comfortable customer is willing to deal with us. You know, whether is it from a face-to-face or an online space itself, how convenient is the journey. You know, if we compare to illegals, you know, one phone call, you get everything done. You know, credit in place, you know, it's almost like personal concierge. We can't do that. So how do we beat them to it? How do we really create that trust? How do we create that experience for them?
For me, three key takeaways is always look at people, understand, and when I talk about people, it's not about end customer, it's about the internal users. Those are the ones who are actually using the system that you're invested in. Then you look at the process, what are the current challenges and the gaps that you're facing with the current process, how a new system can actually help, or how can the existing system, it could be underutilized to improve the process. And finally, then you look at the technology, what is the current technology stack, what is the gap, what is available out there, and how can we piece different kind of existing technology to fill up the gaps. So people, process, and technology. That's good.
I would say that technology is an enabler, so it's never about diving in, buying the latest, greatest, and then to look good. I think of it as an enabler to solve your current problem, or to make the process faster, or to simply, get things speed up so that you can get the information, data, whatever, across to your internal stakeholders. And the end goal is, how do you again deliver the experience to your customers? So yeah, I think in the center of it, always put customer in the center. Then everything around it is enablers to help you do things better, faster, and easier.
Thank you for that. And I completely agree. Customer-centric, data-centric, and of course to agree with Zach on internal employee satisfaction as well. And with that, we are going to conclude today's topic, and I think Lynn wants to end the session. But yeah, over to you for the Q&As.
We have time for one question. This is a tough year. How can we move forward in MarTech with tight to minimal budgets?
Anybody wants to take this question? Okay, maybe I can. Definitely, it's just a challenging time, and with the budget cuts, with most of, and especially on the marketing side, how do we get into the new technologies? It's not really hard. Like, we should not always think about big technology or a big stack going with a big investment. See the incremental changes like what we are talking about. If the existing platform cannot definitely do that incremental change, is there a best-in-class platform that can solve that? It could be a workaround, it could be a simple add-on to your existing solution. It doesn't need to be a very big platform that you want to invest and integrate with all the solutions there. So you could always look at that to get that incremental results. Yeah.
For me, it's more about prioritizing what the marketers want. We have a limited, like asking for pocket money and things that you want to buy, right? What is your real? Do you want to buy food to eat, or do you want to buy a toy to play with? So you're going to prioritize what your marketers want, and then based on how much we have, we will then invest accordingly.
Definitely.
Absolutely, I agree with that. If you're very hungry and you have only $5, maybe buy food, not toys. Other panelists?
Perhaps one idea is, one of the examples that we had was, in the absence of new investments, have we exhausted all the tools we have? Because I think that's where the innovation piece comes about. I recall a couple of years back when we launched a new system, and suddenly we realized, a month before we go live, that the new system does a certain function. I mean, related to paper. So it was go or no go. Then somebody come out, why not we put in a robot? Put in a robot and do that, and that solved the problem. So it really think, getting a head around and looking at what alternatives there are to solve the existing problem. I mean, that goes back to our first question, legacy. What do you really want to buy? Do you want to buy a solution, or do you want to buy a new toy?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Any comments there?
Nope.
Thank you so much for our panelists, and it was really insightful session. Thank you.
Thank you.